if we had community to make
it another way, where your heart is. Okay, heart is. You see, the onus lies on us. It is a choice, and a difficult one. When are many years to prepare for it? But have you looked at the cost? Because they thought that they would benefit from it, and they did. If we think free SHS, if we decide not to make it sustainable, that question will be relevant. It will not be sustainable. If we want, yes, that the biggest, best legacy you can give to anybody is education. Have you wondered having someone and coming around bands where they say these are the issues? So the costs compared to what we will suffer.
In terms of free SHS, it should be an all of the above approach. All of the above approach, looking at ways in which what has been said, community day school approach. But I think in the long term, what should be looked at is more of looking at, we are using trying to use 20th century approaches to solve 21st century systems. I think there should be a bold initiative. I'll be happy if the government can boldly come out with, instead of spending these huge amount of money into brick and mortar infrastructure, come out with a bold approach of broadband initiative across everywhere, and then start looking at using more information technology approaches where we leapfrog from where we are. It's got to be very drastic, because if you're going to look at the numbers that he was putting out, that Prof was saying about dormitories, chairs, tables, and what have you, sum it all up and let the government take a bold approach and say, we're going to provide free broadband from coast to coast, and look at bringing in tablets where students don't have to move from where they are, and have an open education. I think it has to be a bold initiative that needs to be taken to sustain this, because 2020 is 2 years away. It's 2 years away. Actually, it's just 1 year. The second year is just for elections. But they have to look at ways in which they can take a drastic initiative. And if the resources can be found, find it, just as they found it to do the free SHS, where all the resources were put to launch the policy, come out with a long-term goal of how you're going to sustain this. And I think looking at more ICT, innovative ways of where you can create an environment where students don't have to move from the communities in which they are. When Ivory Coast was looking at virtual universities, where they are going to reach the youth in every corner of the regions through the universities, creating virtual universities of what systems they have. These are the approaches that we have to look at. And I think that's the way to go.
I would want to maybe make two observations. And one has to do, again, I would emphasize the fact that we have to have the community-day secondary schools, and that they should be upgraded, because every student will want to go to a very good school. So they have to be upgraded. Now, in the districts, say we have one for now, we can increase it and get buses to take the students to school, instead of the students sleeping in the, the boarding houses. That will reduce a whole lot of cost associated with paying for students who are in the boarding school. So instead of using the money for the boarding school system, we can have just a few schools, and few boarding schools, that will be for maybe some special cases. Because elsewhere, at times I don't want to do the comparison, but we Africans, excuse me to say, we are lucky to have something to imitate. Those who have developed on their own, China imitated, and look at where they are now. But it looks like always we are like, local content, let's do it this way, let's do local content from where? Where is it from? We've had situations where we're debating things that have been implemented somewhere for more than 50 years. It comes to Ghana and it becomes an issue. And then we debate on that. I would not be surprised to see Ghanaians debating on hybrid cars, the pros and cons of hybrid cars. Meanwhile, some of those cars are already in the system and people are using them. Okay? So we have to at times imitate what has been done and then tweak it to fit our authentic environment. What do we do about it so we can fit it into our system to make it work for us? Now, we have the boarding school system, you know, because earlier on we thought that our wards and our children should go to specific schools. Now, we are moving forward, just like you said, you know, we're using solutions from the 20th century, and I like that, to solve problems in the 21st century. Let's look at how best we can get students to attend good schools by having these community schools. If the school is good, students will go. Parents should be responsible because all other policies, like No Child Left Behind that was implemented in the United States, was a collaborative effort of all stakeholders, including parents, the community, the students themselves, and then the state, you know, and then you had the federal support. Same way we can have that system in Ghana where everybody's hand will be on deck. Parents, what do you want, parents? If you parent, you're saying you can pay your child's school fees, and so you go to sit there and talk about that. Maybe you sign something and then pay for your child's school fees, even though the government is saying, I'm going to pay for you. If you think you can pay, go ahead and pay. Or we set a foundation, and that money you can use in paying your child's school fees can be paid into that foundation. So it can be used for other services and other products that are needed in the school. It can be used for buses, like that if you have a district and you have 3 good schools in the district, early morning the bus goes round. Students go in the buses and then it takes them to the school. Thirdly, looking at the feeding program, yes, the government said we're going to feed them. But you see, with every initial, you know, condition, you have the butterfly effect, some complex and unintended effects that may come as a result of the decision that you have taken, you know, to do something. So if we're looking at this, and I don't think that anybody will sit there and say that I wouldn't change because I have decided to do this. I am not going to change or, you know, review or do whatever that I have to do. So if it comes to a point that parents will have to subsidize the feeding system, subsidy can be in the form of the plantain and the cassava they will send to school, but it can also be in the form of money, you know, funds, you know, that goes into a system which can be used for scholarship, grants, and other financial obligations, which needy students can access. And then the government can move from there. So I do believe that there are so many options that we can look at. Not because the government says this is how it should go. We should just sit and then watch. And then when it collapsed, then we are like, we're blaming the government, because what they have already said is that we are all part of the government. When we swim together. When we sink, we also sink together. Thank you.
Okay, on that note, when the panelists here sink, you sink with them. When they don't, you don't sink with them. So we want to hear your opinions too. We want to know what pertains in your countries and other questions that you may have for the panelists here. Dr. Makuku.
Thank you very much for the important discussion. I think let's take it as a Ghana case study, which we can also take to our different countries. But my contribution is actually in support of what has been said. I remember early in 1980s, we had what we called radio lessons. I'm a Zimbabwean. The radio lessons, we would sit and listen and learn after the lesson. So I think now with the modern technology that we have, we never used to have in the 80s, what some of the panelists are saying about investing in ICT is in the right direction. I'm telling you, about 1980 up to now, more than 30 years. So now we should have better, and I think it should work. And then I wanted to say, even for universities too, if we are looking at the large numbers, I think that one cannot be overemphasized, that it's possible. Internship would be the most critical part then, to say instead of having 3 months or so, they should be having a longer period of internship at a degree level or diploma or whatever it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, I see a hand right behind you.
I'm Mambi Awakwashi from University of Energy and Natural Resources, and a teacher educator as well. I have some few problems here. Though I think the free education is sustainable, and it is also a good thing. But I think education in Ghana, if not in the whole of Africa, we have some challenges. And what are they? Looking at education in Ghana, I think we have a problem with quality. And when I talk about quality, here I'm looking at the number of students per teacher ratio. Number of students per teacher ratio. In this case, we have a lot of students in the classroom. And let's look at the number of teachers who are supposed to teach those children. Apart from that, let's look at the curriculum itself. Who are the curriculum builders and who are the implementers? Do they normally collaborate to build the curriculum? So there's a gap somewhere. Somebody is sitting somewhere building their curriculum, and somebody is also sitting somewhere implementing it. So there's a very big and huge gap. Here, the teacher finds it much of a problem to implement whatever thing that is in the curriculum. Because sometimes when it comes to teacher education, right now there's some kind of transformation. We have something we call TETL, Transforming Teacher Education and Learning. That is what is going on at the training college now. If you look at what is really going on, the kind of skills or techniques that must be used in the classroom right now. Teachers are supposed to use this particular technique, but if you look at the student-teacher ratio, it is impossible for you to use it. So what happens is that if there's a monitoring team, then you must try and apportion the classrooms so that you'll be able to use that particular technique, though you've gone through the training. Here they are insisting that the kind of teaching should be in a lecture form, where you have a very big classroom and a lot of students there. So if you have something like the horseshoe technique, how are you going to implement that? The small group technique, how are you going to implement that? Yet, the TETL program is telling the teacher educator that, please use this in the classroom. It is a good thing. But are the teachers really using it? These are some of the problems and the challenges that are going on. And here, if we are to bring in this free education, yes, it's good. It's a good thing. But before the free education, we had problems. Have we been able to solve these problems? So this free education, though it is good, but I'm also believing that it's also going to add up to the problems. So we need to sit up and try as much as possible to solve the fundamental problems.
Okay. So we must solve the fundamental problem. Looks like we have our time is far spent, so we'll take just 2 more and then very quick questions. Then we can prepare for the next session, please.
Thank you. Just a quick one. We need to solve our problems. But excuse me to say that I don't think the United States of America has finished solving all their problems. It means, as for problems, they will always be there. We must embrace it and move ahead. I am also an advocate of open online and flexible learning. If you listen to the figures that Dr. Larbi Apau pointed out, you see that it is a way to go to increase higher education after the 4-year SHS, free SHS, has graduated its first batch of students. But my worry is the cost of internet and internet availability in the country. I really wish that, as one of the panelists said, the state could invest more into it. I went to China, and if I should say, for comparison purposes, when I paid 100 RMB a month, 100 RMB, let's say it's less than 5 Ghana, 10 RMB a month, and 10 RMB a month is less than 5 Ghana cedis in value. And that 10 RMB a month gives me unlimited bandwidth of internet. I'm talking about unlimited. 10 RMB a month. Unlimited bandwidth. I come to Ghana, and if I want 20 gigabytes, I have to pay 120 Ghana cedis for it. How can we stay and compete and learn with such a medium? It takes very rich individuals to be able to cope. Meanwhile, if we want to go fully open, if we want to go fully online, then we need internet. So I wish the state could invest in, do something, and bring down the cost of internet. It will really curtail most of the problems that we'll have when we want to go online. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that from the questions should be brief because of the time factor. At least less than a minute will do. Summary.
Thank you very much. I am Kelechi Namdi from Imo State University, Nigeria. I like what Prof said on free education. Is viable, is important, is good. But I think I appreciate what she said, and that is the thing that is realistic in Imo State, where I'm coming from. You talk about free education. I don't wish Ghana should pray for such type of free education that is happening in my state, whereby even a teacher will have a problem of asking parents to buy books for their children. Because when one such free education is introduced, parents will fold their hands, fold their legs. They will tell you government will bring everything. A child cannot have a textbook. You come to class to teach, there is no textbook. In short, I run a private school also. 2 weeks ago, I sent a child home, and the parent was, the mother precisely was angry with me. Why should you send my son home? I paid the school fees. I said, Madam, the only thing is not to pay school fees. This is 8 weeks of resumption. No single book for this child. How can a teacher teach? How will the child learn? So you see, because of the idea of free education that the state government of that state introduced, even to buy pencil is problem. So you know human beings, whenever you see free things, you just forget that you have a responsibility to do. So I think parents should come to understand that this is my child. That is why they say courts have few kids. Give 3, give 4, so that you'll be able to take care of them. But when you have 8 and you expect the government to take care of them, you are destroying the system.
Okay.
Another thing is what he says in technology. When I was an undergraduate, we did a course, Introduction to Computer. I didn't touch computer for a semester. We did Introduction to Computer. I didn't punch one letter. So when I graduated, I could not, even when my husband bought system for me, I couldn't operate it. I had to look for somebody who did it, technology, this people. Yes, the person had to teach me. But I paid for it.
We can appreciate that concern. It's an African thing, but gradually we'll get out of it.
All right.
Yes, 2 more people, and then we are... Okay. Yeah, thank you. I'm Dr. Daniel Norris from Pentecost University. I think that the issue of sustainability, that question, we should stop asking it. We should stop asking that question about sustainability. Because when it comes to, let's say, support for Ghana Black Star, we find the money. When it comes to beauty pageant, we find the money. When it comes to every useless thing, we find the money, except for education. And we cannot stay in this country. And I've always been saying, people say quality education standard is falling. And all. People went to school with cloth around their neck. In the olden days, yet they came out and became professors. Why are we thinking that we should have a perfect system for people to have access to education? We cannot do that. We need to embrace this, face the challenges, and resolve it as and when we progress. That is the way to go. Because a country without education is dead. We cannot live like that and say, oh, is this sustainable? Is it? No. Let's go and face the problems, find a way to solve the problem. We can never have enough before we embark on free education. No country in this world will have ever, and no country in this world will ever finish solving their problems. Thank you. We have to embrace it Thank you. And when they come. Now, last one at the back, the gentleman in glasses, and then we'll come back to we'll take the rest of the questions at break time. We can still engage our panelists. They are going to be here throughout the evening. Looks like time is our enemy now.
Okay, I'm actually speaking on behalf of the AAU. There is the program that we call the NRENs in relation to the bandwidth thing that he talked about. There is the NREN thing that AAU runs, that's the National Research and Educational Networks. Now, the problem or the challenge we are seeing is that the vice chancellors who are supposed to be getting involved and taking the lead in ensuring that these NRENs are functioning are not. In the morning, Professor, the Deputy Minister for Higher Education, Professor Yanka, he spoke about Garnet, if you remember, and that's they don't know where Garnet is as of now. So there is a program running now. The objective of the NRENs is to make sure that all the higher education and research institutions within the country are connected to the fiber network, and they are supposed to be paying between 10 to 20% of the commercial prices they are paying now. In reality, the universities and research centers will become the owners of the connectivity or the service, and they would have even some in excess to be able to sell other things to other people. But the problem or the challenge is still the vice chancellors, do I say their indifference or their, see, they are not getting involved in ensuring that these things work. The countries where they work, we have Sudan. The Sudanese delegation is here. You can talk to them and see how they are benefiting from it. You go to Uganda, it's working very well. You go to South Africa. All the countries that have their NRENs working very, very effectively have internet connectivity, and they have it at a very cheap rate. And they are doing a lot of wonderful things with it.
Thank you very much.
So we want to ask, we want to actually request the vice chancellors who are here, please be supporters of the NREN program and help us to move forward.
Okay. Want to appreciate you for your time. At this juncture, because of time, we will take one male and one female to represent the entire panel here. So one female on behalf of the female panelists and one male on behalf of the male panelists. Then we'll come back to our chairman to conclude. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I think the free SHS is sustainable. We all have to put our whatever to the wheel and make sure that it works, because when it works, it's working for us. So that is what we have to do. I will quickly respond to a question that was asked in the morning about assessment of students. You see, the way we assess our students in the Ghanaian university system and even the high school system has to do with, say, the group performance. You know, we base our assessment on group performance. And if we are able to assess the individuals, then it can help us in allocating students to the various programs they are interested in, and that can help us to move forward. So thank you very much for allowing me to respond to that.
All right, thank you. I think that we all have come to a consensus that free SHS is good. There are, however, challenges. And then together we can all surmount these challenges. But a sustainable free SHS, we all know, is good for Ghana. How can we in our own collective, individual ways, support it. Let's send out the message. Let's educate our people that the government is doing its best. Yes, we also need to also help sustain this. Thank you.
Now we'll have concluding remarks from our chairman.
Okay, thank you. Like I said earlier, the topic is of high interest and really exciting, and it can even take us to tomorrow. We should note that every country is free to choose its higher education system, free or non-free. This is a matter of needs of education, state of access, state of quality. There is no system with advantage, without advantage or inconvenience. The real issue is to solve the actual problem the country is facing. And the better we educate the youth, the better they can perform. Somebody say that education is not a privilege, but a right. And free education could help every level of society to perform better. However, there should be a regulatory system. Access is linked to leveraging resources for facility, equipment, infrastructure, especially ICT infrastructure. That means that the use of other ways to deliver education is highly recommended. Distance education should be a solution. Why don't we use social media as platform of learning? In this regard, we need to be innovative using alternative system, and the NRN and Garnet can help solve bandwidth costs in ICT use. Challenges should not prevent from doing good things and help to contribute to our fellow citizen education. Free HS is sustainable and need the contribution of us all to go about. There may be people who are ready to contribute, and also even the community can participate in their own way. If we want, somebody summarize it by if we want, we can. And this is the best legacy we can leave to the next generation. Definitively, the sustainability is all about commitment, all about approaches. Please, there is no shy to copy, adapt, and paste what others have performed elsewhere and which now works. We can also implement here what has been done elsewhere. So on this note, I think we get to the end, and I would like to thank you all for your patience, and I hope tomorrow we will be as many as today to attend the remaining program of African Universities Week. Thank you all.
Okay. So on that note, we want to thank all the panelists, the Secretary General, and also Mr. Awaah for facilitating this session. The next item on the program is a roundtable discussion on the topic opportunities for collaboration and partnerships with Sudanese universities. We are inviting all the vice chancellors and university executives present. This session is not for students, actually. So except the students, we are inviting all the vice chancellors and university executives to this session. We are having it on top, right on top of this very building as the AAU conference room. So I would like to, there was a presentation we should have done. I want to give the person just 3 minutes, and then we will disperse and go for this program. He's in the person of Mr. Albert Kusi. He's the head of sales data bank and he's from the head office. I would give him just 3 minutes to give us his message, and then on Wednesday we can give you about 20 minutes when we are at the University of Professional Studies campus. So after his remarks, we'll just go up, and Prof. Jonathan Imba will be the one to facilitate the roundtable discussion, and then we can release the students to go back.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Okay, let's give it up to our panel members as they take their seats. My name is Albert Kusi from Dapaah as head of sales. Dapaah is glad to be part of this week's celebration. What we want to say is that as we are here to discuss about education, we should also think about investing and also putting some money aside for future use. So at Dapaah, we give you a variety of products. We have our mutual funds, that's our long-term mutual funds and our short-term mutual funds. We also give you an opportunity to buy the Government of Ghana Treasury bills. We're also into shares. We currently have about 19 locations across the country. Currently, we are located at the GT Bank at Medina. We can also be found at our head office at Adabraka. We're in about 8 regions of the 10 regions of Ghana. Dapaah is not a commercial bank. It's a purely Ghanaian-owned investment company. It started in the year 1990, so we are 28 years in business. I want to give all participants here an opportunity to invest with a very little amount and hope to grow this amount so that by the time you retire at age 60, you would have built enough income to be able to pay for all your medical bills and all your other expense. We are excited to be part of this program and we look forward for a more exciting collaboration. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much for that short presentation. So officially, the program has come to an end. We can release our students.